Hello everybody, it's time for another Batman miniature game battle report 350 rep of the Gotham City Sirens versus the Militia. Playing on this table layout that you can see. We'll take a look at the crews in a second. Lamps and sword gratings have already been set up, although we don't know what scenario is being played just yet. But we just thought we'd get prepared. Anyway, let's have a look at the crews. So this is the, as of yet in all the games we've played so far, the undefeated Gotham City Sirens crew, same as we've been using. So being led by Poison Ivy, the sidekick is Harley Quinn, free agent is Catwoman, two plants that can pop up in a couple of locations on the battlefield, and then Mind Control, John Diggle and Arkham Guard 2. Funding is like $14.50 in total, so there's no extra gibbons taken for war gear, but they don't need it apparently. And in terms of objectives, although we've forgotten to put them up here, it's the same as usual. So loot, which Catwoman will be going after, medical, and then also ammo for Poison Ivy and Harley to go after to try and generate bonus victory points. So this is the Militia crew that's hoping to knock the Gotham City Sirens off their perch, being led by the Arkham Knight. He has a free agent Scarecrow. He doesn't have the Scarecrow from the Militia box because this Scarecrow, for one, is cheaper. Well, although he does need a little bit of funding, he's just better in every possible way. So this Scarecrow will be joining him. We're also having the Militia with a shield, Militia with a carbine, and the Cybernetic Brute Militia member. And then finally a second free agent, Man-Bat, mostly because there wasn't enough points to fit in Solomon Grundy. In terms of extra funding being spent, the carbine has an extra magazine. Basically everything else went on giving Jason Todd all the bonus stuff he could possibly have, extra magazine, acid on his attacks, etc, etc. Oh, and his electric grapple gun as well. Alright, let's see what scenario we're playing and then we'll be back at setup. Forgot to mention the objectives for the Militia side. It's the Militia drone, contraband and Wayne Tech. So we're going to be playing scenario 4 from the 2nd edition rulebook today, which is just 8 inches on either edge of the table, objectives placed to their normal placements. And bring me his head, take out the leader, so that would be Poison Ivy and the Arkham Knight, and the secondary objective for taking out 175 rep worth of the enemy crew. Head over here now and we can take a look at deployment. This is where the Gotham City Sirens are deploying, on this side of the table. We've got a lamppost there along with Harley Quinn and John Diggle. Guess they got out that car. Up here we've got a sewer grating and a lamp, as you saw when we were going over the lists. Arkham Guard 2's decided to start up there right up to the line. Over here we have a sewer grating next to where Catwoman and Ivy have started, along with one of the potential plant spawns. Their loot is hidden there. Scarecrow is out of the enemy deployment because he has undercover, so he can deploy up to 8 away, but he has to be more than 4 away from the objective, so he is backed off just over 4 away from the loot. We have the Shield Militia member here, who was also going to be the drone controller, standing next to the Gotham City Sirens ammo and a sewer grating. Up here on the monorail is the Arkham Knight himself and Man-Bat, right up to the line. There's another sewer and lamp there. In the middle we've got the contraband, we've got the Wayne Tech, another lamp, another potential plant spawn. The drone is over here, another potential plant spawn next to that sewer grating. And then we have the Cybernetic Brute, the medical for the Gotham City Sirens, and the carbine using op down there. So that is how the table is looking as we swing back around to the bag that decides who's going to raise the plan first in battle round 1. Green for the Gotham City Sirens, pink for the Militia. The Gotham City Sirens will be getting first activation in battle round 1. So perhaps unsurprisingly, to get us started with Gotham City Sirens, their first activation was Catwoman with her 5 movement acrobatics. She dashed all the way over here, she snatched up the loot, which has been removed because she then continued moving because she had 1 movement counter left, moved 2 inches back the way here to snatch and run. And remember, she has the priority loot, so if she still holds on to it, she generates 2 victory points a turn instead of 1, so instantly getting off to a strong start. Let's see what the Militia do for their first activation. Scarecrow activated first for the Militia, and he was easily able to catch up with Catwoman, took 3 swings with his scythe. Catwoman is hard to hit, she's defense 5, whiffed with all the hits, and it's only sharp, it's not handy, so sadly Scarecrow was unable to stop Catwoman for now. He can sort of keep up with her. He does have a fear spray as well, but it's very expensive. So we'll see what happens, but back over to the Gotham City Sirens now for their next activation. Well, the real potency of the Gotham City Sirens was on display just now because Ivy activated, she moved up, she had 2 attacks, she used up 3 special in total to do Mortal Kiss on Scarecrow. 1 attack of the 2 attacks hit, then needed a 5+ to wound. achieved it, which means Mortal Kiss just outright kills Scarecrow. So there is a free agent removed instantly in Battle Round 1, and that is just a terrible blow. Not only that, but this Scarecrow has Scientific, so that gives up an extra victory point as well. Absolutely terrible, but that's the power of Poison Ivy's Kiss. They say that revenge is a dish best served cold, but I find a sniper bullet does it just as easily. The Arkham Knight activated next, and he can see Ivy from kind of like the angle. Can't quite get a good view of it there, but he can see her. And although she is an acrobat, so she would have been able to use her dodging ranged attacks, she used all her movement to get to Scarecrow. So the Arkham Knight fired his sniper rifle at Ivy, hit twice with a crit on the collateral dice rather, for 6 blood and 1 stun. She has 7 endurance, so she is down and out. Also one hit away from death. So that is a fine example of revenge. Now the Gotham City Sirens are going to have to do something because their leader is down and very dangerously close to being out. A careful move next for the Gotham City Sirens. Arkham Guard 2 activated. He just shuffled up to the edge of the building to give him an overlook of the square where the militia's main objectives are. But other than that, did nothing else because nothing was in range. The Cybernetic Brute activated next, and he moved up away from the medical. He didn't quite get into base to base with this lamp, but he has reach on his electrical baton things. He destroyed the lamp just to plunge that area into shadow, so hopefully it'll be harder for the marksman on the roof to see anything. But other than that, it's just moving up. John Diggle activated for the Sirens next. He just moved up to here, and he shot his pistol at the Cybernetic Brute, but missed, so he wasn't able to do anything. He also was not able to get quite close enough to the contraband to claim it. Man-Bat, who was originally perched up here, activated Fly and used his incredible movement to just kind of skip across the buildings and rapidly descend here, right next to John Diggle, and attacked him with his claws. Managed to get 2 blood, 2 stun from 2 successful attacks with the claws, and also knocked down because of the match on the collateral die. Because of his weird wing, it wasn't possible to place him in such a way that it would be in base to base with Diggle and the contraband. Went after John instead, figured that was the smarter play, so the contraband is not being claimed. But John is on the ground, he's lost just over half health, and is in a bad place. Man-Bat is exposed now, obviously, to the sniper on the roof, etc., but hopefully that was worth it. Oh, also John was out of range of the drone, sadly, so that didn't apply this turn. So we're just going to cover quickly the last activations of Battle Round 1. Harley had to go because she was the last Gotham City Siren not to activate. She moved all the way up here. She left herself 1 movement and 2 special counters, though, and her special counters can be spent as any counter. The Carbine Militia member activated. He moved up behind the Cybernetic Brute. He fired with his Assault 3 gun. It's normally 5, but it's Assault 3 if he moved. At Harley, she had the 3 dodges. She's very good at dodging, so she was able to just avoid them via that. No pings or anything required, not that she would have got a ping. And then final activation of the turn, all the way over here. The Shield Op opted to, sorry, not Shield Op, Shield Militia member, opted to just stand there so that he could give lots of extra movement to the drone objective at the end of the round. So we'll be back with rest and recovery. So at the end of an action-packed Battle Round 1, which doesn't usually happen, Poison Ivy was barely able to wake up. She is still 1 hit away from death though, as she had 6 blood accumulated, but she is at least able to act in Battle Round 2, assuming she gets a turn. Diggle did not recover a stun. In terms of victory points gained, the Militia only got victory points for knocking out Poison Ivy, but that is 4 victory points, so it's pretty hefty. The Gotham City Sirens got 2 victory points for Catwoman claiming the loot. They got 3 victory points for knocking out Scarecrow. They got an additional 1 for then making him a casualty, and an additional 1 on top of that for him having the scientific role. So the Gotham City Sirens are pulling ahead, even though they are the only ones who have taken bleed damage, if you ignore the fact Scarecrow died, which I guess you probably shouldn't. Anyway, let's see who's getting first activation in Battle Round 2. It's more likely to be the Militia, but not necessarily. And case in point, it's the Gotham City Sirens with first activation in Battle Round 2 as well. Oh, one more thing as well. You're supposed to do this at the Raise the Plan phase, but just done it now. The close range Nomming Plant has appeared, emerged there next to the Cybernetic Brute and the Carbine Op. The Spitting one is right there next to Diggle and Man-Bat. So to get Battle Round 2 started, Poison Ivy hopped up after regaining consciousness and she fled all the way down there. Normally, after like a leader getting KO'd gives up the most points, the 4 victory points. If they get made a casualty, it's only 1 victory point. However, in this scenario, if she gets made a casualty, it's actually an additional 3 victory points on top of that. So in total, she would have given up 8 victory points. So although there might have been other things that needed doing, first activation, getting Poison Ivy out of the chance of getting shot again by the Arkham Knight, it was the best bet, I think. From his perch up there, the Arkham Knight chose to fire again. Now, although he has a scope so he can see any distance, his weapon is still limited by medium range, so he couldn't shoot the Arkham Guard all the way over here because it's over 16 inches. So instead he opted to shoot at Catwoman. Again, she's hard to hit, although he managed to get both hit rolls. You can't take pings against shots with the scope, but you can still use the dodging ranged attack, and she did. She used up 3 movement counters to do 3 dodges, successfully did them, because she's got movement 5, so it's really easy for her to do so, and as a result, I don't think she even gets just a scratch, so Catwoman is unhurt, but there is a saving grace. She did have to use up a lot of her movement counters to guarantee no damage, so she's not going to be able to run as far as she might have. We'll see whether or not that comes into play as we move on. Arkham Guard 2 activated next, hoping to land a potential 9 blood damage on Man-Bat. Unlike the Arkham Knight, who's been rolling hot in every single roll he's had to make, much more disastrous here. Unfortunately, only 1 hit landed. It did not wound, so just a scratch, 1 stun on Man-Bat, but otherwise he is perfectly fine. So speaking of Man-Bat, he activated next and took advantage of John still being on the floor knocked down and attacked him with 3 attacks. Managed to do 1 blood, 1 stun, and then a bonus stun on the critical, taking John exactly to his endurance cap, so John is now knocked out. Man-Bat then moved over to and claimed the Wayne Tech. Harley Quinn activated next and used her once per game handguns on the Cybernetic Brute, only did 2 blood to him, then used her movement to jump over everything because she's an acrobatic, all the way around the corner there to touch the medical, which is her preferred objective, so it has to be contested by the end of the turn, otherwise she's going to generate 4 victory points, which is pretty nasty, as we know. So let's see what the Militia do next. The Carbine Militia member activated next, and from where he was standing he shot full rate of fire 5 into Harley Quinn for 2 blood. He also did it with her in range of the drone, so it was +1 to hit and will also generate 1 victory point because at least 1 hit landed. He then moved to contest the medical. He is obviously still in danger because Harley Quinn is dangerous and now he has no ammunition, and there's a killer plant there, but he had to try and defend the medicine. So using his electrical batons with reach and mechanical, etc., the Cybernetic Brute took some swings at the carnivorous plant there, did 4 stun with 2 successful hits. He then moved into contact with the contraband and is claiming it for the end of the turn. We're going to wrap up the activations for Battle Round 2 because other than the Militia with the shield, who opted to still stay next to the ammo just to claim it, the Gotham City Sirens could just act unabated. The carnivorous plant, who was previously wounded, bit the Carbine Militia for 1 blood. Over here, Catwoman, rather than deciding to retreat because the middle of the map's looking a little bit busy, opted to charge forwards instead, heading towards the drone-controlling Shield Militia member. The drone will be able to move a lot again if it wants to. And finally, the other plant, the one that shoots like poison needles, shot at Man-Bat and did nothing. So now we're on to the recovery and recap. At the end of Battle Round 2, John did not wake up, so he's still unconscious on the floor. The carnivorous plant recovered 1 stun though. In terms of victory points, the Gotham City Sirens got 2 for the loot that Catwoman is still holding on to, but other than that they earned nothing because the medicine is still being contested. The Militia, on the other hand, they got a victory point for knocking out Diggle. They got 2 victory points for the Wayne Tech, which also gave Man-Bat power armor for the next turn. And the contraband result that the Cybernetic Brute is holding just gave its shiny result, which is just 1 victory point. So they didn't make back as much as they necessarily could have, but at least it's made a little bit of difference. Now I think that it's almost even on the dot now. Anyway, let's see, as we reach the halfway point of this game, who's getting first activation in Battle Round 3. It will finally be the Militia. So for Battle Round 3, to get started, the Carbine Op activated at Merc. No, Op, whatever. Anyway, he actually did have 1 more shot left. Forgot that we bought the extra magazine for him, so he still had 1 more shot. He fired into the carnivorous plant, did 3 blood, which is enough to take it to knockout state, but when plants get knocked out, they are just removed from the table and give 1 victory point. Now the rule does say they can never give more than 1 victory point for being removed. However, the drone doesn't add on to the victory points given by the plant, it just awards 1 victory point because a hit was successful in its AoE. So I believe the drone still pays out the 1 victory point to make it a total of 2 technically from this activation, but not from the act of it dying. Does that make sense? Anyway, that's the way we're running it. Now over to the Gotham City Sirens. Arkham Guard 2 activated next and used his last ammunition to shoot the Cybernetic Brute because he was already wounded. Did 6 blood, which took him to 8 blood in total. He only has, what, 6 or 7 endurance, so he is dead. That is a henchman KO plus casualty for the Gotham City Sirens, so, and also the contraband isn't claimed, so good result there. Now back over to the Militia to see what they do. Man-Bat activated next and left the Wayne Tech in order to attack Catwoman. He flew to get over here with ease. Did manage to land a hit on her and only did 1 blood, 1 stun with his claws, sadly, so she's still very much okay and able to activate. Did make her use up some special dice as defense dice because she gets that roll from Harley Quinn, but she is still on her feet and free to move. Catwoman opted to activate next, and she decided discretion was the better part of valor because there was just things bearing down on her. Didn't expect Man-Bat to leave the objective to come and get her, so she used what counter she had left to flee back to here. Well, as a quick addendum, she didn't run into the centre square to claim the Wayne Tech because Arkham Knight still has the bonus magazine he bought, and he still has 1 shot left as a result, so he could easily shoot her. Where she's standing now, though, he can't. Like, he can't see enough of her to even take a ping shot. Not that she would be allowed pings from a sniper, but still, can't see her. The Arkham Knight activated next, and unable to shoot Catwoman with a sniper, he opted to use his electric grapple to get down to the ground and move all the way over here. He can then shoot the electric grapple, and he did so at Harley Quinn. It's only a 1-shot rate of fire, and she was able to avoid the hit, so she is fine, but he is moving in on her because he doesn't have much faith in the carbine op being able to withstand her attacks. Harley Quinn activated next and unleashed her baseball bat on the carbine using Militia member, did 4 stun, he had 1 blood on him, so he is knocked out. He has 4 endurance or 5 endurance, whichever. So that's a victory point gained, and now she is claiming the medical, so she's taking the chance. There's no one else over this end of the table, so I think it's a safe bet for this turn, but whether or not the Arkham Knight is able to stop her next turn, we'll see. So to wrap up the remaining activations, Pamela just moved along here and is just hiding. Other than that, the plant in the central square there couldn't see anybody, so did nothing. The shield Militia member all the way over here is still just opting to claim the ammo. Not that it's generating points, but just to stop anyone popping out the sewer and claiming it on the Gotham City side. So I think that's everything. So, recovery and recap. So at the end of the battle round 3, John has woken up. So amazingly did the carbine Militia member, so they're both able to act next turn. In terms of victory points gained, the Gotham City Sirens got 2 victory points for Catwoman still claiming the loot. Oh, Catwoman also recovered from 1 stun, so did Man-Bat. I think Man-Bat was last turn, actually, just forgot to mention it. Either way, they also have the medical because Harley Quinn is claiming it. Although actually, is she still classed as claiming it because the carbine op has woken up, so he's just knocked down, not knocked out? Huh. Need to look into that and we'll do an amendment if need be. Right now though, we're saying claiming it for 3 plus the bonus 1 because that's her preferred loot. And for the Militia, they got 1 victory point for the plant being killed, and that is it. Oh, the Gotham City Sirens also took out the Militia, the cybernetic Militia member, for 2 victory points in total. Well, for now though, let's see who's getting first activation, but then we'll look into that knockdown criteria because he is touching the objective. It's the Militia set to get the first activation though. Let's see what happens. So as an amendment regarding whether or not Harley Quinn claims the medical, in the recount phase, very clearly in the rulebook it says you follow a strict sequence, so in other words in the order listed, you do traits to activate at the end of the recount phase, then you check who controls objectives, then you check whether any knockouts or damage, stun damage, gets recovered, and etc. So in other words, the objective controlling comes first, so even though the carbine Militia member woke up, Harley Quinn claimed the medical for this turn. Well, the turn that just ended. So to get us started with Battle Round 4, Man-Bat hopped over the container there, going into combat with Catwoman yet again. This time did 1 blood, 1 stun again, but also did a knockdown, so she's on the floor. She had to use 3 special counters as defense counters to help mitigate the damage done to her. So she's up to, I think she's at half health now, or just over half health. Harley Quinn activated for the Gotham City Sirens and tried to take some swings with her baseball bat at the not knocked out but knocked down carbine using Militia member. Whiffed quite badly. He had 1 defense dice as well, so she did nothing to him, staying in contact with the medical though and just hoping for the best. The carbine Militia member then spent a counter to stand up from being knocked down, which left him with literally nothing, so he just stayed where he was in base to base because I don't think Harley Quinn is a martial artist, so at least he can confer a bonus onto the Arkham Knight. The first time in a while John activated after being knocked out for most of the match, got up and got into contact with the contraband to claim it. Then for the Militia, Arkham Knight activated, he moved in to Harley Quinn, did 3 stun turn total, that was 2 from the reinforced gloves because he has the cybernetic arms upgrade, plus the collateral matching, and, or sorry, a crit rather, and it matched. So she is knocked down, and I think she has 2 endurance left, so she is on the ground, and in a spot of bother. Just to go over the final activations of Battle Round 4, Pamela decided to just keep on moving in front of the nice house with the plants. She's feeling at home there, I guess. Catwoman has continued to flee from Man-Bat. She stood up and moved as best she could. Into the centre of the map, though, where she has a lot of friends. The shield-using militia member just through the building there is obviously still just holding the ammo at the sewer grating. And that's it, I think. Everybody has activated. The plant here obviously couldn't see anybody to shoot at, so it's not doing anything. Can't remember if I mentioned in the last activation, though, but when the Arkham Knight landed some hits on Harley, the drone also meant that he got a victory point for doing that. But we'll cover that properly in the recap in a second. At the end of Battle Round 4, also forgot to mention that the Arkham Guard took the sewer grating from the roof down to there because he has no ammo left. In terms of victory points gained, the Militia only got victory points for... what is it that they did again? Was it for taking out the plant? Oh no, the drone. The drone conferring a point for landing hits when it was target marked, when Harley Quinn went down. The Gotham City Sirens, they got 2 victory points for Catwoman holding the loot. The result on the contraband roll gave Diggle 2 victory points for the team as well. And, well, they don't have the ammo, they don't have the medical. I think that's everything. The Wayne Tech is going unused, but that's still making them pull out ahead. This Gotham City Sirens list is just a nightmare. Anyway, oh, in terms of stun recovery, the Carbine militia member recovered a stun, Diggle recovered a stun, Catwoman recovered a stun, and Harley Quinn did not. And the penultimate turn is seeing the Gotham City Sirens go first. Battle Round 5 started with Catwoman wanting to put even more distance between her and the very angry mutant bat person chasing her, so she is now hiding behind the carnivorous plant spitter right there. Not necessarily the best first activation, but she's been generating a lot of victory points, so why stop now, I guess. The Carbine militia member took some swings at Harley Quinn while she was on the ground, making her much easier to hit. However, she expended some defense dice to make sure that she took no damage. Does leave her with very few markers remaining though. Just a quick move there, the Gotham City Sirens activated the Arkham Guard and moved him in to claim the Wayne Tech objective. Man-Bat activated next, hopped on over and both contested the contraband and attacked John Diggle. Wasn't able to do anything to him, unfortunately, so he whiffed pretty badly this turn. The spiked plant, as seen there, shot into Man-Bat with its poisonous spikes or whatever they're called. Managed to do 1 blood, 1 stun plus a crit for an additional stun. I don't think, does he have anything on his crit? No, he has enervating, but enervating doesn't matter because Man-Bat's already gone. So, some damage done from a plant that's not been doing particularly much down there. Back over to the Militia. The Arkham Knight activated next uses reinforced cybernetic arms to do 2 stun to Harley Quinn, knocking her out, so that's a sidekick knocked out for 2 victory points, plus a bonus 1 for the drone being in vicinity. He then moved with his pretty good movement and got that close to the contraband and Man-Bat. So in terms of final activations for Battle Round 5, John activated, he couldn't do much, he used his taser on Man-Bat, did 2 stun, which isn't bad, and opted to stay where he was to contest the contraband to make sure nobody could use it. Other than that, the shield militia member obviously stayed still where he is, just trying to make sure nobody claims that ammo sneakily in the last turn, I guess. And then that's it, so we're on to recovery and recap. So at the end of the penultimate battle round for the game, Man-Bat recovered 1 stun. Harley Quinn did not wake up, so that is her down and out for the rest of the game. John did not recover any stun either, neither did the Carbine op. So I think that covers everything. In terms of victory points gained, the contraband is contested, so nobody gets that. The Gotham City Sirens get 2 victory points for Catwoman holding the loot, and 2 victory points for the Wayne Tech as well. The Militia got 1 victory point for the drone being close when Arkham Knight landed some hits on Harley Quinn, and 2 victory points for knocking out a sidekick. So that brings us to the final turn. We already know for a fact that the Militia get first activation on the final turn. Here's the marker just to prove it. Let's see what they can do. Kick off the final turn, Man-Bat activated, he attacked John again, did 2 blood, 2 stun, knocked him out. He's not dead though because he only has 5 blood in total and he has 7 endurance, so he is knocked out. That obviously means he can't do anything on this turn, but he's already been knocked out prior in the game, so he doesn't give up any more victory points. He has freed up the contraband though. Man-Bat then moved to contest the Wayne Tech. Catwoman activated first for the Gotham City Sirens on the final turn, and she has fleed with, or rather Catwoman has fleed to the car here where everything started. Presumably this is her getaway vehicle. She just wanted to secure those final 2 victory points. She scored 2 victory points every single turn, which is pretty incredible. So we can pretty much cover the rest of the activations now. Poison Ivy is obviously just going to stay hidden. The Arkham Knight moved to claim the contraband, tried to coup de grace Diggle but didn't do enough damage that could be converted to blood. The Carbine Op over at the medical tried to coup de grace Harley Quinn but could not. The Shield Op is staying where he is. The plant was unable to spit at the Arkham Knight. Oh, forgot to mention, between turns the drone did move up to here, so when Diggle was knocked out by Man-Bat, that was an extra victory point gained there. But that takes us to the end of the game. As far as I'm aware, none of the bonus objectives from the scenario have been met because both leaders are still alive, albeit Poison Ivy's only got 1 endurance, so it was super close to giving away like 3 or 4 victory points. The other objective was wipe out at least 175 rep, essentially, of a crew, because that would take it to half. The Militia's lost Scarecrow and the Cybernetic Brute. That's like 100, 110? Yeah, 110-ish, so they're fine. Poison Ivy, they lost 1 plant other than people knocked out, so they definitely didn't. So the scenario is giving up no bonus objectives. Let's see what the final recap is. So at the end of the turn and the end of the game, the Wayne Tech has given up nothing because it's contested. The Contraband got a 2 on the result table, which gave up nothing, although as it turns out it wouldn't have made a difference to the outcome. Nobody can claim points from the ammo or the medical because they were just being protected by the Militia. Catwoman obviously got 2 victory points for loot. The drone generated 1 victory point when Man-Bat knocked out Diggle again, and that's it, which takes the final score to 27 victory points to the Gotham City Sirens and 17 victory points to the Militia. This Gotham City Sirens crew is too good. They just do so well. Now obviously there would have been a difference of 3 or 4 victory points if Poison Ivy had gone down in turn 2. That still wouldn't have covered the gap. So, we did a good job, I feel, on the Militia side of stopping Harley Quinn claiming the medical for 4 victory points a turn, making sure nobody claimed the ammo for 3 victory points a turn. It's just, if Catwoman can nab that loot turn 1, she can just keep on running. She's defense, she doesn't have much endurance, but she's defense 5, so she's really hard to hit. She's evasive, she can dodge ranged attacks. She's just so difficult to catch. She generated, what, 8 victory points on her own? 2 a turn, yeah. No, that doesn't work out because there's 6 battle rounds at 2 a turn, that would be 12 victory points. I can do maths. She generated 12 victory points on her own, so she covered the difference. If Man-Bat hadn't have gone after Catwoman and instead stuck in the middle getting Contraband or Wayne Tech, depending on whether or not you wanted to get a set 2 victory points or gamble on potentially getting up to 4 or none, that might have made a difference, but that also would have let Catwoman, originally Catwoman was creeping up the edge to that corner over there, she probably would have been able to take out the Shield Militia to start claiming the ammo, and that would have been very bad as well. She'd been generating 5 victory points a turn, which is ridiculous. But yeah, Catwoman was a linchpin. If she nabs that loot and she can just run away, it makes anything anyone else does not too important. The plants themselves, they didn't do much. One gave up a victory point and the other one did damage to Man-Bat once and then missed once. But they're nice just because of the threat of backing up an area that's getting attacked or where you know action is going to happen. So yeah, they do fine. The list in general though is just too powerful. So the Gotham City Sirens are not going to appear in our next list. We're going to take a look at the starter set for the Dark Knight Rises starter set, all finished and painted, so we'll see what those 2 crews do to each other in a rec version of this map. But anyway, thank you very much for watching. I sincerely hope you enjoyed. Please subscribe if you want to see more, and hopefully I will see you next time. Ta-ta for now.